The place is too safe with police.
Daniel Patrick Silly is a high-risk sex offender who has moved to Roanoke Park.
我是害怕。
The internet is filled with creepy content, but some videos go beyond disturbing. These are the recordings that leave you questioning what's real, what's staged, and what should have never been captured at all. Tonight, we're diving into 6 of the most disturbing YouTube videos ever caught on camera. Let's dive straight into the first video. It was August 31st, 2023. A regular Thursday afternoon for 34-year-old Michael Cenero. Michael was a welder who spent most of his days working on railway tracks in northern Italy. It was tough, physical work, but he seemed to enjoy it. He'd even built a small following on TikTok, where he posted photos and videos from the job. Clips of him welding, balancing tracks, and sharing bits of his day-to-day life. Nothing too dramatic, just the kind of content you'd expect from a blue-collar worker with a phone in his pocket. That's what made his next post so strange. At first glance, it was just another photo of the tracks he'd been working on. But right in the center of the rail, there was something no one could quite explain. A glowing red cross, almost like it had been burned into the metal. It looked unnatural, too perfect to be random. In the caption, Michael wrote, "It's the first time this has happened to me while balancing the rail. The crucifix came out. God definitely wants to tell me something. Even though I've been calling him every day lately, it's not a good time for me." It was eerie, especially if you knew Michael personally. He was known to be deeply religious, and those who followed his account knew he'd been going through a rough time. For months, he'd been praying, asking for a sign, hoping for some kind of guidance. And now, this? No one knew what it meant. Maybe it was just a coincidence, maybe not. Either way, Michael posted the image, put his phone away, and went back to work. But it's not hard to imagine that strange red cross sticking in his mind the rest of the day. Almost like a warning. And then, just 24 hours later, it happened.
An investigation's underway after 5 railway workers were killed by a speeding train in northern Italy. They were working on replacing parts of the track at the Brandizzo station near Turin when the locomotive slammed into them.
On September 1st, Michael and 6 other workers were back on the tracks that night, continuing their maintenance. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary until a train suddenly came speeding toward them. According to reports, the workers didn't see it coming until it was too late. The train was moving at nearly 100 miles per hour. There was no time to react. In the chaos, 5 of the 7 men were killed instantly. Their bodies were thrown hundreds of meters. Among the victims were Kevin Lagana, Giuseppe Cervillo, Giuseppe Lombardo, Giuseppe Aversa, and Michael Cenero, who died on the very same tracks where he'd seen that glowing cross the day before. The investigation is still ongoing. Authorities are calling it a tragic accident, possibly due to a miscommunication about train scheduling. But to those who saw Michael's post just hours before his death, the timing felt too strange to ignore. Whether that red cross was some kind of divine message, a glitch of light, or just a haunting coincidence, no one really knows. But one thing's for sure. Michael's final TikTok didn't just show a strange image. It told a story, one that ended far too soon. If you thought this was shocking, just wait till you see the next one. Quick interruption. If you're enjoying this video, why not hit that subscribe button? We're on a mission to hit 150,000 subscribers, and when we do, 3 lucky fans will win a free item of their choice from our merch store. Right now, 73.6% of you watching haven't subscribed yet. It's completely free, and your support helps us make even more awesome videos. So, don't miss out. Subscribe, and let's get back to the video. The channel I want to discuss today is, without a doubt, one of the most disturbing videos I've ever come across. And while I've hesitated to bring attention to it in the past, largely due to how unsettling and uncomfortable the content is, I believe it's important to shine a light on just how far some creators have gone unnoticed on platforms like YouTube. A channel known as 00390, a channel that had gained notoriety for its disturbing footage of the person behind the camera stalking women in public. While I wish I had more to report, there hasn't been any major news regarding that specific channel. However, in the process of looking into it, I came across another channel that shares alarming similarities, particularly when it comes to filming women in public without their consent and uploading those interactions for all to see. The channel is called Dan Silly, and it's run by a man using that exact name. From the moment you land on the page, it's clear that something is wrong. His very first upload is a 3.5-hour-long video, ominously titled, "I Will Grab Woman Soon." In the first portion of the video, Dan walks the streets of Los Angeles, holding a camera and filming random women.
Okay, there's a woman up here that's like 30-something, 32 or 4. Her trying to speed up so I can get an image. Her ears were narrow, not wide, you know, I mean, that's the catch, right? She was just sitting by herself. I could have said, hey, she just looked Asian, an over chubby Asian, you know, American.
As he walks, he critiques their appearances in detail, ranking them, judging them, and objectifying them out loud. While technically not illegal, the behavior is undeniably creepy, and as the video progresses, it becomes much worse. Dan begins ranting about how, in his opinion, society has become too safe for women. He argues that women are shielded from accountability and claims that he's been denied the affection and connection he believes he deserves. These beliefs quickly escalate into something far more disturbing.
But in this place, the place is too safe with police. In other countries, it's way less safe. In order to get a bodyguard man, you know, that will protect you, you need to be a good woman. You need to act well. But in here the women don't need to act well, so therefore they're disgusting. You know, they're not good women.
The most alarming part of the video isn't even in the footage itself, but in the description beneath it. There, Dan has written a lengthy and deeply troubling monologue that outlines his views on women, relationships, and what he feels entitled to. The rant begins with the chilling line, "I'm going to grab woman. Don't you want to grab them? Squeeze them? I'm going to grab them, but only if they want me to." He goes on to complain about the idea of having to ask for consent, saying it would be annoying to keep asking, and that not asking might lead to him being arrested if a woman happens to say no. He then outlines a bizarre list of rules for his future partner, stating that the woman he ends up with cannot drink caffeine, eat dairy or wheat, should not be on social media, and must desire to be impregnated. The rant ends with perhaps the most horrifying line of all. "I will have live footage shortly of me causing woman to feel very high amounts of pleasure. I will show you exactly what you need to do in order to achieve a similar result as mine." From this video alone, it's clear that Dan's views toward women are deeply problematic, if not outright dangerous. He's openly objectifying strangers, expressing violent sexual desires, and acknowledging that what he's planning could lead to his arrest.
I'm looking around, looking for what I want. I'm shopping for what I want to do. I'm shopping for food. I'm shopping for sex, okay? This is not bad. Why is this bad?
And yet, it gets worse.
Hi. Why are you ignoring me? Why exactly are you being, like, tired of being sexualized? Like, isn't it good to, like, be valued for something?
Following that initial video, Dan changed his approach. He began uploading videos of himself approaching random girls on the street, usually with the camera already rolling. The clips show him attempting to flirt, or more accurately, harass, women who clearly want nothing to do with him. He'll say things like, Hi, I like you. I saw you over there and I want to kiss you. The women's discomfort is obvious. They try to walk away. Some tell him outright that they're not interested.
You think I can't run or something? Hi, how's it going? How are you? Okay. Why not?
Because we don't give you consent.
You don't have to. I mean, I don't need consent. Right? That's a myth.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Security?
But Dan often continues following them, completely ignoring their boundaries. He seems unable, or unwilling, to understand that his attention is unwelcome. And over the course of several hours of content, a disturbing pattern begins to emerge. In many of the clips, Dan's camera lingers on the women's bodies, often zooming in on private areas. The filming style is voyeuristic, predatory, and increasingly unsettling. Even more alarming is that some of the girls he films appear to be underage. In fact, a number of them look like they could be much younger than 18, while Dan himself is in his 30s. Multiple commenters have pointed this out. One comment reads, "You should make sure they're over 18. A lot of the girls you've been approaching look like kids, dude." At first, you might think the videos are exaggerated or faked, but as it turns out, the situation is even more real and more horrifying than anyone initially assumed.
I don't think he could be supervised 24 hours a day.
Daniel Patrick Silly is a high-risk sex offender who has moved to Roanoke Park.
Dan Silly is a registered sex offender. In 2017, he was arrested for harassing a minor in a sexual manner. This isn't speculation. It's a confirmed piece of his history, and one that paints all of his videos in an even darker light. After his arrest, there was a brief period of silence. It appeared that Dan had stopped posting. His original channel seemed to go dormant, and many hoped the situation had come to an end. But unfortunately, that wasn't the case. Since his release, Dan has resurfaced, this time under 2 new channels. And the content he's uploading now is arguably even more disturbing than before. The new videos include titles such as 15-year-old white girls serve me food and all look me in the eyes, marriage material, I saw 14-year-olds fooling around, and even how to marry a 14-year-old girl. These videos are all publicly available on YouTube, and they're all being posted by a convicted sex offender. It's one of the darkest and most unsettling rabbit holes I've ever gone down, and it raises deeply uncomfortable questions about how much of this type of content is slipping through the cracks completely unnoticed.
Because I literally do feel like freaking like destroying these women when I accost them. My reptilian brain literally feels like attacking these women. Just strangling them and stuff, honestly. And making them submit to me. I feel like these women, seriously, you know.
Before I wrap this up, I want to make one thing very clear. It's entirely possible, perhaps even likely, that Dan is suffering from some form of mental illness. That doesn't excuse his actions, and it doesn't make them any less harmful. But it's important to recognize that engaging with him online, leaving hateful comments or provoking him further, won't help. In fact, it might only fuel his delusions and make things worse. It's unsettling to witness how far people can go in their thoughts and actions toward others. But imagine living in a country where even sharing your opinion could make you disappear entirely. The channel we'll be looking at today is one I've personally been fascinated by for several months now. And to be honest, I debated whether or not I should even talk about it here. There's something about it that still makes me feel uneasy. So, let's just say I'll be treading carefully with this one. As of now, the world is still dealing with the long-term effects of the coronavirus pandemic. But back in the early weeks of 2020, the situation looked very different. The virus was still largely confined to China, with most of the earliest reports pointing toward the city of Wuhan as the epicenter. At the time, it was difficult to understand how serious things really were. Official updates were scarce, and many suspected that the Chinese government was actively censoring information from the public. This suspicion is something that Li Zehua, a freelance journalist, strongly believed. And rather than just speculate from a distance, he decided to take action. Li traveled directly to Wuhan in an attempt to expose what was really going on. He began recording and uploading videos of his experiences, both on Chinese social media platforms and on a YouTube channel titled Chris Lee.
我的一位在主流媒体工作的朋友告诉我，现在在武汉所有的主流媒体，他们都被安排在一个现在所有关于疫情的坏消息都已经被中央收归统一的报道，而地方媒体只能报道关于。
In his very first upload, he openly stated that if the Chinese government truly was hiding the truth, then what he was doing wasn't just reporting. It was a direct act of defiance. Every video he published increased the danger he was in, as he was actively documenting the very things China was allegedly trying to keep out of the spotlight. In the 3 videos that followed, Li conducted interviews with residents of Wuhan and openly discussed theories that the government may have been underreporting infection numbers and death counts. These videos quickly gained attention, particularly outside of China, because at the time, there were very few trustworthy sources sharing footage from inside the quarantine zones. For viewers in countries like the United States, where reliable updates from Wuhan were hard to come by, Li's first-hand accounts became a rare and invaluable glimpse into the heart of the crisis. Li believed that what he was doing was important. In his eyes, he was standing up against a flawed and oppressive government, one that cared more about its image than the safety of its people. But that mission would soon come at a cost. On February 26th, while driving through the city, Li noticed an unmarked vehicle pulling up alongside him. The passengers inside reportedly told him to stop immediately and surrender. Panicked and unsure of who they were, Li chose to flee. As he drove off, he recorded a frantic 30-second video titled SOS, in which he explained that he was being followed and feared for his safety. He eventually made it back to his hotel, where he immediately began a live stream in an effort to protect himself. The stream would last over 3 hours, with most of it taking place in complete darkness. Li kept the lights off, whispered, and remained mostly silent in hopes of avoiding detection. Throughout the stream, multiple police officers knocked on his door, trying to determine if he was inside. He did not respond, at least not right away. Finally, after 3 hours and 45 minutes, Li opened the door and surrendered to authorities. He was arrested that night and taken away. From that moment on, Li vanished. Weeks passed without any update. He wasn't allowed to speak, wasn't seen in public, and made no contact with the outside world. This sudden silence only intensified speculation. Some believed that Li had been imprisoned. Others feared that he had been killed for exposing the truth. No matter which theory you believed, one thing was clear. A man had disappeared, simply for trying to warn the world about what was coming. Then, more than 2 months later, something unexpected happened. A new video was uploaded to Li's YouTube channel.
开门之后，他们进来了，向我表明了他们的身份，他们是公安。在整个过程中，警察文明执法，保证了我的休息时间和饮食，对我也很关心。感谢所有照顾和关心我的人，愿天佑华夏，愿世界人民团结。这些日子，无数纷乱的思绪满溢于我的脑海，有的转瞬即逝，有的只可缄默，唯独这一句 不堪之论，注印于心，不可磨灭。人心为微，道心为微，为精为一，允直绝中。
In the 6-minute clip, Lee reappeared, seemingly unharmed. But everything about the video felt off. The man who had once passionately criticized the Chinese government now appeared calm, scripted, and almost rehearsed. In the video, Lee claimed that he had been treated well by Chinese authorities. He stated that he hadn't been imprisoned, but rather placed in isolation because officials believed he had been exposed to the virus. He expressed gratitude for their care and cooperation, completely contradicting his previous beliefs. The abrupt change in tone raised immediate red flags. Viewers were quick to point out how unnatural the entire video felt. His words seemed memorized. The entire delivery was too polished, too calculated. For someone who had risked everything to expose government wrongdoing, this complete reversal didn't make sense. What had happened in those missing 2 months? Had he been threatened, tortured, silenced? We don't know. But the mystery didn't end with Lee. Because even before Lee's arrest, another journalist had already disappeared. His name was Chen Qiushi, and like Lee, he had been using his platform to speak out against the Chinese government. He had previously been an outspoken supporter of the Hong Kong protests, which had already placed him under the government's radar. So when Chen began posting videos from inside Wuhan, documenting the outbreak and exposing what he saw as government mismanagement, many feared the worst. On February 6th, Chen went missing without a trace. His mother, desperate for answers, recorded a video of her own. She posted it to his YouTube channel, pleading for information about her son's whereabouts. Despite her efforts, nothing came of it. Chen Qiushi has not been seen or heard from since. His disappearance has triggered countless theories, but no real answers. Some believe he was detained in a secret location. Others worry that something even more tragic may have happened. And so, the story of these two men remains one of the most chilling mysteries to come out of the early days of the pandemic. Both were citizen journalists. Both went to Wuhan in search of truth. Both vanished. One returned, but changed. The other never came back at all. What happened in those missing hours, days, and weeks? We may never know. But what's clear is this. In a world where speaking out is dangerous, sometimes telling the truth comes at an unthinkable cost. It's disturbing how something so small can have such a massive impact. The same goes for everyday actions, like simply being part of traffic. What you're about to see in the next video is a chilling example of just how quickly things can spiral out of control. Back in October 2020, 20-year-old Taylor Scrawn started her TikTok account with one thing in mind: motorcycles. Taylor had fallen completely in love with the lifestyle, the speed, the freedom, the community, and she poured all of it into her content. Over the following years, her page slowly grew as she posted memes, motivational clips, and behind-the-scenes looks into the life of a female rider, something that was still considered niche in much of the biking world. She wasn't just making content, she was breaking stereotypes. Other riders, especially women, appreciated how open she was about her passion. Taylor wasn't trying to be flashy or fake, she was just real and fearless. But over time, that fearlessness started to drift into something more dangerous. In more than a few of her videos, Taylor could be seen pushing the limits, speeding down highways, weaving between cars, and pulling off risky stunts while the camera rolled. The kind of riding that made your heart skip a beat just watching it. Eventually, it caught the attention of the platform itself. TikTok began placing disclaimers on several of her uploads, warning viewers that this activity could result in injury or death. Still, the clips kept coming, and Taylor seemed to embrace the image, sometimes joking about the risks, other times hinting that she believed nothing bad could ever really happen to her.
Oscar, this stress sweat is getting all over me.
She was just that confident in her abilities. Some followers admired her for it. Others worried it was only a matter of time. And on May 23rd, 2023, the video that would make her infamous was posted. That night, Taylor had been riding north on I-95 in Flagler County, Florida, along with 4 other motorcyclists. According to reports, everything happened in a matter of seconds. For reasons that are still unclear, the group began to lose control, swerving and colliding into one another at high speed. Bodies flew through the air, helmets cracked against asphalt. A large SUV traveling behind them didn't have time to stop. It ran over several of the riders, Taylor included. When emergency services arrived, 2 of the bikers were already gone. One was a 29-year-old man. The other was Taylor Scrawn, pronounced dead at the scene at just 22 years old. What made the tragedy even more haunting was its timing. The crash happened one day after Taylor's final TikTok post. A post where she once again shared her love for the open road, completely unaware that her next ride would be her last. Since then, her story has become part of a broader conversation about the line between confidence and recklessness, and how easily one can blur into the other. Because while Taylor never stopped pushing the limits, it's clear now, the road always pushes back. Her followers might have seen it coming, but what if you unknowingly walk into a party and it spirals into a horrific disaster, one that no one saw coming? Let's see it unfold in the next disturbing videos.
Aus Berlin.
Ja, wir haben es tatsächlich auf uns genommen.
It was July 24th, 2010, and across Germany, the mood was electric. The long-awaited Love Parade music festival had returned, and millions were preparing to celebrate. This wasn't just any music event. The Love Parade had been running off and on since 1989 and had grown into one of the world's largest and most iconic electronic festivals. In 2008, over 1.6 million people attended. It was wild, vibrant, massive. And in 2010, organizers expected nothing less. But gathering millions of people into a single space is always going to be a logistical nightmare. Public safety officials had raised serious concerns about the chosen venue, a former freight yard in the city of Duisburg. It just didn't seem big enough. But despite the warnings, the event was given the green light. Officials insisted that evacuation plans were in place, that if anything went wrong, there were protocols to keep everyone safe. And so, on that sunny July morning, thousands of people began lining up to enter the venue. To manage the crowd, organizers set up 2 main entry points that funneled people through a long tunnel and onto a single main ramp, the only path leading in and out of the festival grounds. A smaller ramp was added as a secondary exit to relieve pressure. Early footage shows people arriving, excited, ready to be part of something historic. And for a while, everything seemed fine. But it didn't stay that way for long. Just a few hours in, the venue reached capacity. Police set up barricades at the tunnel entrances and at the ramp itself to stop more people from entering. But the crowds didn't stop coming. Outside the entrances, thousands more were still arriving, unaware of what was happening inside. They kept pushing forward, trying to get in. At the same time, people inside the festival were trying to leave through the same narrow ramp. It became a disaster waiting to happen. 3 directions, 1 ramp, hundreds of thousands of people, all pushing. In an attempt to relieve pressure, the police removed the first barricade, then the second. Now, waves of people from both ends were flooding into the tunnel, unaware that the third barricade, at the end of the ramp, was still in place. What happened next was chaos. Thousands of people suddenly collided in a space far too small to hold them. Those trying to leave were face to face with those trying to enter, with nowhere to go in either direction. It was the perfect storm, a human bottleneck that quickly spiraled into a deadly crush. Across YouTube, you can still find footage from that day. Some clips were taken from above. Others were filmed by festival goers who hadn't yet realized what was happening. And some were recorded by people trapped inside the crowd. As the pressure built, bodies began to press together, tight enough to restrict breathing. People were being squeezed so hard that some had their rib cages crushed. Others collapsed from asphyxiation or heat. Some tried to climb walls to escape. Others were lifted over the crowd, lifeless, as desperate strangers tried to pass them toward medical teams. The visuals are harrowing. One survivor described seeing a young woman with broken legs as her boyfriend stood helpless nearby. They tried to resuscitate her, then put a cover over her head. This was the first time I'd ever seen people die. Another recalled seeing dozens of bodies piled in a heap. They had stamp marks on their faces. Some people were being resuscitated, and I didn't even know if they were alive or dead. Perhaps the most haunting footage came from CCTV cameras overlooking the ramp. From above, you can see the crowd pulsing like waves in a storm. People being thrown in all directions. No control, no escape. Just pure human panic. In total, 652 people were injured. 21 died, crushed to death in the middle of what was supposed to be a celebration of love and music. In the days that followed, the backlash was immense. The mayor of Duisburg at the time, Adolf Sauerland, faced intense criticism and even death threats. He was later impeached and removed from office. Police were slammed for their handling of the situation. And the event organizers? They were accused of choosing a venue far too small, especially after it was revealed that the main ground still had space. The crowd crush, in other words, could have been avoided. That final third barricade, the one that blocked the exit, never should have been there. But in the end, no one took responsibility. No one was convicted. And the love parade has never returned. Did you find these 5 YouTube videos disturbing? Then brace yourself for the last disturbing video. At first glance, the footage doesn't look like much. In fact, if you stumbled across it on YouTube, you'd probably think it was just another wholesome family vlog. The video is titled Stapleton's Day Out with Thomas, and it shows a typical family outing, smiling kids, cheerful parents, and a trip to see Thomas the Tank Engine. On screen, we see the youngest member of the family, Ainsley Stapleton, along with her older brother, McEwen. Behind the camera is their father, Matt, while mother Kelly Stapleton and their daughter Isabel, who they affectionately call Izzy, also appear in frame. The video was uploaded back in May of 2008, and it would mark the very first post on Kelly Stapleton's YouTube channel. Over the next 2 years, Kelly would continue uploading videos that followed the same structure. Lightly edited clips capturing the family's warmest moments, singing together, laughing, playing. From the outside, the Stapletons looked like a tight-knit family, the kind you might even envy. But that's what made the reality so hard to believe. By mid-2010, uploads to the channel began slowing down. And then, in July, a final video was posted before the channel would fall completely silent for a while. That last video, titled Mom and Autistic Daughter Finally Dance Together, was a touching moment between Kelly and Izzy, performing a dance routine that Kelly described in the video's caption as years in the making. This video was also the first time Kelly publicly confirmed that Izzy had autism, a detail that would become tragically important as the story unfolded. After that, the channel went quiet. For 3 full years, no new videos were posted. It seemed like the Stapleton family had simply moved on from YouTube, but when the channel did return, the content had drastically changed, and not for the better. On February 5th, 2013, Kelly uploaded a short, 28-second video titled simply, "Typical Day." And for those familiar with the channel's earlier tone, what they saw was jarring. The footage appeared to show a physical altercation, something far removed from the family-friendly content of the past. In the video description, Kelly explained what had happened. "My autistic daughter is aggressive. She was agitated and pulled my hair, then hit me several times. I was in the process of calling my husband for help when I must have hit the record button. This video is what happened next." Though brief, the video showed just how bad things had become inside the Stapleton home. But it was Kelly's personal blog that offered the most insight. There, she wrote candidly about Izzy's increasingly violent outbursts, including attacks that had sent Kelly to the hospital. She shared photos of bruises, scratches, and medical documentation from the aftermath of Izzy's aggression. According to Kelly, her daughter's condition was only getting worse. A follow-up video soon appeared on the channel, this time showing Izzy acting violently towards staff at a residential facility. Around this time, a local news segment aired a story about the family, revealing that Izzy had been placed in a specialized treatment home to receive care. But even there, the violent outbursts continued. It became clear that Izzy needed more time, more structure, possibly even a different kind of treatment altogether. But the Stapletons were running out of options. And more importantly, they were running out of money. Eventually, they had no choice but to bring Izzy back home.
She's gonna come home, and this is not gonna be pretty.
Well, you said to me she's gonna kill you.
She will.
You feel that way?
Yes.
It was a heartbreaking and deeply unsettling reality. A mother, afraid of her own child, and a child who wasn't to blame. Izzy wasn't malicious. She was simply sick, trapped inside a condition that she couldn't control. What she needed was help. Still, Kelly continued uploading. 2 more videos featuring Izzy would appear on the channel. The final one was titled Nightly Prayers. It included no description, no comment section, just a short clip of mother and daughter sitting together, praying quietly.
Father, Son, Holy Spirit, Amen. Angel of God, my guardian dear, to whom God's love entrust me here. In the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, Amen.
For a moment, it seemed like maybe things were getting better. But that would be the last video ever posted to the Kelly Stapleton channel. After that, her blog also went silent. No more posts, no more updates. The family disappeared from the public eye. So what happened to the Stapletons? Why did everything stop? The answer lies in an event that occurred just 7 months later on September 3rd, 2013, a day that would change everything.
1, 2, 3. When you go camping, what do you have to do? You have to fetch some firewood, that's what campers do.
That morning, Kelly asked Izzy if she wanted to go on a camping trip. Just the 2 of them. Izzy agreed, excited by the promise of unlimited s'mores, her favorite snack. The 2 drove out to a rural part of Benzie County, Michigan, and parked their van at a quiet spot near the woods. They spent the evening roasting marshmallows, eating snacks, and sitting by the fire. It was, by all accounts, a peaceful moment, something that likely brought Izzy real joy. Eventually, Izzy climbed into the front seat of the van. Meanwhile, Kelly began packing up their supplies. But what Izzy didn't know was that Kelly had also brought 2 charcoal stoves, and they weren't for cooking. Kelly placed the stoves in the back seat, filled them with charcoal, and lit them. As the smoke began to fill the air, she climbed into the driver's seat, shut the doors, and rolled up the windows. Then she locked them. Izzy had no idea. This wasn't a camping trip. It was a planned murder-suicide. Kelly believed her daughter could no longer be helped, that her family was beyond saving, that the only way out for both of them was death. The plan was for carbon monoxide from the stoves to quietly kill them both inside the van. As the gas filled the vehicle, Kelly sent a final message to her husband, Matt.
When the world is over and the stars are shining bright, it's time to go to bed. It's time to say goodnight. Say goodnight.
By the time authorities were alerted, hours had passed. When they arrived at the scene, the van was filled with toxic fumes. And yet, miraculously, both Kelly and Izzy were still alive. Kelly recovered quickly, and as soon as she was medically stable, she was arrested and charged. Izzy was less fortunate. The gas had caused her to slip into a coma. She remained unresponsive for 3 days, but eventually woke up, suffering only minor long-term brain injuries. Against all odds, she survived. Today, Kelly Stapleton is serving time in prison for her actions, and Izzy is still receiving care and treatment for her condition. One of the most shocking parts of this entire case, however, came in the aftermath. When the public began reacting to the story, there was a wave of unexpected support for Kelly. In the comments of her videos and blog posts, people expressed sympathy and even admiration for what she had done. One commenter wrote, "I agree 100%. I would put that animal up. You did absolutely everything possible. You should be proud of all you tried to do for Izzy and all you accomplished. I, for one, support you and understand why you did what you did." It was a deeply disturbing reaction. Yes, the family was in crisis, but there were other options: foster care, group homes, updated medication, or alternative treatment plans. In fact, experts have since noted that the treatment method the family had been relying on was known to cause agitation and aggression, especially in individuals with autism. More could have been done. There were steps to take. But instead, Kelly tried to kill her daughter and herself, robbing Izzy of the rest of her life. The Kelly Stapleton YouTube channel will likely remain online, a strange digital artifact, a scrapbook of happy moments that slowly turned dark, a family that once appeared perfect on the outside while quietly falling apart behind the scenes. Because if there's one thing this story proves, it's that appearances can be deceiving, and even the most wholesome-looking families can be hiding something unimaginable. That's all for today, folks. If you want to see more of this creepy content, click on the video on screen.